Hello and welcome to Frontrunner Motorsport, and I figured it was time to close up some loose ends. There's been various projects that I've started and not finished, and I think next couple of weeks we're going to try and knock some of these out, starting with the Formula E rewatching of Season 1, which we did the first 6 races, so we got pretty far, about halfway. Today we're looking at race number 7, taking place in the Principality of Monaco, stepping on the toes of Formula 1 in a way. There are no driver changes for this one. Everyone who took part in race 6 at Long Beach took part in Monaco, so no changes to go through. So let's just begin.
At the grid, on pole position on the left-hand side, Sebastian Buemi, his second pole position of the season so far, having taken one early in the year at Punta del Este. Second on the grid is Lucas di Grassi, the man who is leading the championship, and he will be desperate to get a good result here to follow on from his third place last time out in Long Beach. Best qualifying of the season so far for Jerome D'Ambrosio. The Belgian racer won here in 2010 in GP2. He starts third. Nelson Piquet just a point behind Di Grassi at the top of the championship, and he's got the fan boost. He's fourth. Daniel Abt is starting fifth for the Abt team. He was reasonably pleased with that, but disappointed to still be behind his teammate Di Grassi.
Pretty standard grid. I mean, I think this is pretty much the starting grid for most of the races. The front runners you expect to be there are there. Let's just hope nothing happens on the first lap. Let's have a nice clean race.
In the yellow and red car, we go green in Monaco, and it's a really good start from Buemi. He holds the lead of the race. D'Ambrosio is trying to challenge Di Grassi, not quite close enough. Bit of a lock-up, but nothing too dramatic, as everyone will have to be so careful. Oh, there's the front wing gone of Jean-Eric Vergne. He's gone into the back of the car behind. Al-Khashwari's out of the race as well. Oh, and a big melee coming out and down, and that is not what we want to see at all. That's Abt out of the race, it's Senna out of the race, safety car deployed, but that, I'm afraid to say, is a classic Monaco pileup.
Well, so what was that? About 30 seconds? We lose about 5 cars. I feel sorry for Jaime Alguersuari most of all, because he didn't even make it to the melee. He got taken out before it, before the first corner even. And then in the main accident, I think we lost like 3 or 4 cars. It's probably not as bad as it looks, but I think because Bruno Senna got launched into the air, it was a big crash. There's no doubting that. But we get the safety car for a few laps, and then we continue on like nothing ever happened.
Could have been a really nasty one.
Wow, so Bruno Senna leaping over the back of Daniel Abt. Yeah, so Abt, has he been pushed in the wall there, or has he hit the wall on the other side? But that's a big moment for Bruno Senna.
Actually, when you look at it from that angle, it is pretty messed up.
Ozio in front, and he's using his fan boost now. Nelson Piquet Jr. He'll dart to the outside, but he's not going to be quite close enough. He'll get alongside. This is going to be very tight on the run down into Sainte Devote. Gets on the brakes, not close enough. D'Ambrosio manages to keep it together, and Piquet's used his fan boost now for this car. He'll get another chance on his second car, but is that the moment? Gone up the inside into the harbour hairpin. Great move from Nelson Piquet Jr. He's up into third place. That was decisive.
That was a great move. Yeah, he really just was determined to get by.
That was a really good pass from Nelson Piquet Jr. And I guess that's why he was champion.
So they can work out their strategies through the race.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's starting to thread out a little bit more, spread out a little bit more, I should say. Sam Bird's looking pretty racy behind Nico Prost in the battle over 6th position. But we do tend to see this in Formula E races, that the first sort of half is reasonably calm, and they're all happy to just sort of sit in position and wait until they get an opportunity when they've changed their cars and they know exactly what they've got to do to the end of the race, and then start to attack. That sort of seems to be the way that the teams run it.
Yeah, but interesting just to see now that Nelson Piquet just set the fastest lap of the race, and it was a good chunk faster than what the leaders have. So maybe. So
we are about a quarter of the way through this race, and in typical Monaco fashion, there's not really a lot going on. I don't think there's been any overtakes, at least not on screen. So we still have Buemi and Di Grassi leading the way. Piquet's in third, and D'Ambrosio and Sarrazin 4th and 5th, having a pretty good race. And I'm hoping that something will happen soon.
There's Piquet's team radio. And here's a look at what happened up the inside into Sainte Devote. Job done.
Bang. There you go. Yeah, very textbook move. Nicely done. And And Clean X out of the corner. Now he's probably going to try and hunt down the guys in front of him.
Oh, and there goes the wheel cover off the front of Nick Heidfeld. So that's probably remnants of the damage after a collision with Jarno Trulli. And I think that might be why the yellow flag has come out. Because, yeah, it's down at turn 2. So that's probably why the yellow flag.
So things that have happened. Loic Duval made a move up to Trulli, I believe. Might have been Liuzzi. It was one of the Trulli cars. And it didn't go well, and he's been in the pits for a long time. Sandberg, pretty good overtake at Sandevot. Nothing wrong with that. And someone else has lost a bit of a car, which is the second time in this race. I'm sure someone cleaned it up. This is a pretty boring race, I'm not going to lie.
Very much. Buemi's still got a good amount of energy though, and because it's such a short lap here, Mike, the teams are a bit more flexible. If you've got an extra 3%, 4%, that could get you an extra lap potentially.
Yeah, and with the safety guy help, they've kind of gained a lap now. So before we were guessing that they pit around any time now, but now they're able to stretch it out a lap, and that opens up for...
In comes Di Grassi with 10% of energy remaining, so I wonder if he's going to come in and try and maybe get an undercut or something like that, get some clear air.
Yeah, very interesting. Maybe that's what they're looking for. They might have seen a gap on track on their strategy to try and get them out in clean air. But risky to come in a lap earlier because it means you've got to manage a little bit more.
Right, so we're about halfway through this race. Not a lot going on, but we are getting into the pit stops now. Stefan Sarrazin has very little energy, so he's going to have to come in pretty soon. Also, Lucas Di Grassi has dived in early, which I'm sure is a bold strategy choice. Let's see if it plays out.
Sees Piquet, Di Grassi goes past him, but where is Sebastian Buemi? That's the big question. Has Buemi managed to get out in the lead? He has, just about. That must have been so close coming out of the pit lane, and it was easy to get past Nelson Piquet Jr., but it was, and they go side by side, almost touch on the run down into the hairpin. Is Di Grassi going to get around there? Yes, just about, but that must have been so close coming out the pits.
Oh, just where they left off when they came in. So yeah, great to see. Very, very close, and straight away back at it like cats and dogs.
Buemi was actually a 1:14 pit stop time.
Okay, something exciting has happened. Buemi came out of the pits just in front of Di Grassi, and that bold strategy from Di Grassi almost worked. He almost got in front. So it's tight at the front. Di Grassi is still chasing Buemi. We're going to spend the rest of this race watching to see if he can get past. If you look forward to 2022, they've both had their struggles. Di Grassi's come off slightly better than Buemi in the last couple of years. But going back to here, these two really are the granddaddies of early Formula E races. So I'm excited to see some Buemi-Di Grassi action.
And 16.6. But yeah, they're so back and forth on the radio with all this information. It's really key for the drivers to know, so they can know how much to save and harvest for to get to the end of the race without penalty of going over.
Jean-Eric Vergnes just used his fan boost. He's all by himself further back in the pack. He's 32 laps down because I think he's only just gone out in his second car.
I think he's trying to set a fastest lap here.
Exactly, which he has
just
managed to do.
And yeah, that fan boost is definitely going to help.
55.157 for Jean-Eric Vergnes, so they're fighting over the 2 points that go to the fastest lap of the race. Alain Prost smiling because one of his drivers is leading the way. His son is in 6th spot at the moment as they now sort of come up towards back markers, and great to see so many fans here watching the action. It's been really good attendance for this Formula E race, as it has been for most of the Formula E races so far this season. Yes, granted it's free entry, but nevertheless it's great to see the grandstands packed, and it's great to see top-level motorsport accessible to fans as Buemi comes down into the Harbour hairpin now. 52% of energy remaining. Out now into Tabak. Into the left-hander.
Yeah, nice line through there. Silky smooth from Seb. And yeah, just managing the race very well here, managing his energy. Good use of the curves through there. And not much coasting at all on this lap.
No, I was just going to say that.
You know, driving this thing as hard as he can. It'd be interesting to see if there's any coasting down into turn 1. That seems to be a favourite for to save energy.
Well, last lap he lost 0.3 of a second to, oh goodness me, this is Antonio Felix da Costa forcing his way past Charles Pic. and going up into 8th position, and Scott Speed went through as well. So Peak got very close, but good work from Scott Speed as they come over the crest of the hill, down Avenue JFK, and Nick Heidfeld will be trying to get through as well. Da Costa then 8th place.
So less than 10 laps left, not a lot going on. We saw a nice overtake there. I actually forgot Scott Speed was even in this race. I'm not counting on anything happening in the last 9 or so laps, but we shall see.
Half of distance, no further decision taken in the incident between cars 10 and 23, which is Trulli and Heidfeld, but it's absolutely nose to tail for second place as they dive out. Now don't forget as well, Piquet Jr. has got a fan boost, so he can decide to use that if he feels he's close enough to the back of Degrassi. But across the line they come, 41 out of 47 laps, 40 out of 47 laps completed. 7 laps to go here in Monaco, and there are still big question marks about who's going to finish second. And I think Buemi has got the lead reasonably under control at the moment, but he still feels the need to push because he set his personal best on that last lap.
So Piquet has closed up onto the back of Degrassi, and that looks like the battle that's going to go into the final laps is watching those two fight over second place. Buemi's not too far in front, so if Piquet can make a move quick, he could challenge for the lead. But he is running out of time. And this is as good as the race has got pretty much the whole time.
Across the line he comes. He's got 1 lap to go with 9% of energy, and that should be plenty for this final lap.
Hopefully these back markers can get out of the way and make this last lap quite clean for Seb. Otherwise, yeah, it could be interesting with Lucas not too far away.
Through the harbour hairpin comes Sebastian Buemi, out onto the stretch. Karun Chandhok gets out of the way, and well, he still manages to gesticulate there, Sebastian Buemi, as they come around to back. He's managed to keep the lead of the race. Through the swimming pool section comes Buemi. He's never won here in Monaco, but that could be about to change. It's very, very close for the final spot on the podium. Sam Bird right up behind Nelson Piquet Jr., who's dropped back ever since that incident earlier on. But through the final corner at Anthony Noakes comes Sebastian Buemi. The Edams driver is going to win the first Formula E race in Europe. It's the checkered flag for Buemi in Monaco. Wonderful performance from the Swiss.
Bravo. Bravo,
Sam Bird almost gets him at the...
Il a mis le damier trop tard, ce con. Il a mis le damier trop tard. T'es sûr que c'est fini? T'es sûr que c'est fini?
Delight for Sebastian Buemi. Bird so close to getting Piquet at the line. There was just a tenth of a second between them. Degrassi in second. And there he is.
On est certain. Y a pas les commissaires, ils sont pas au bord de la piste. Hein. T'es sûr, hein?
Celebration inside the Edams garage. That's their 3rd win of the season. The most winning.
Okay, so that ending was a bit of a dud. Piquet did not really challenge Degrassi. In fact, he dropped back and almost got overtaken by Bird. Sebastian Buemi won fairly comfortably. And there were points for the likes of Jerome D'Ambrosio, Stefan Sarazan, Scott Speed, Charles Pic. It was a very unspectacular race, and I think part of the problem is because we lost quite a few cars at the start, either completely retired or damaged. There weren't that many cars running. I think only like 15 or 16 got to the end, and I think most of them were sort of... They'd already had to switch cars early, so they had to conserve energy, so they weren't really on the race pace. There's quite a lot of lapping of back markers in this race, but not a lot of overtakes. And that's what was really lacking. There was no battling. Like, Degrassi got close to Buemi for a couple of laps. Piquet got close to Degrassi for a couple of laps. Bird got close to Piquet right at the end. There's some battling in the midfield early on, but nothing spectacular. So if you're going to go back and watch Formula E, I would say skip this race. So now let's look at the standings of the Teams Championship. Dams lead the way with a healthy lead over Audi. Virgin and China Racing pretty close together. Andretti surprisingly not far behind. In the Drivers' Championship, Lucas Degrassi still has a slim lead over Nelson Piquet Jr. and Sebastian Buemi has closed in as well. Nico Prost drops back a little bit and Sam Bird is in 5th. So that's it for this episode. Hopefully I'll get a few more of these done and we can see out the first season before the end of the year at least, but hopefully, let's say by the end of October. I'll set myself a little deadline. I think we've only got like 5 races to go. The next round is in Berlin. Hopefully it's a lot more exciting than this round at Monaco. But thank you for watching. Remember to subscribe. We have got over 600 subscribers now, which is amazing. So let's go and hit 750 as soon as possible. Thank you again. Have a good one.